I looked at this yesterday, did some looking into things, and I was surprised that there really is a movement in the nation to have local elections with non-citizens voting. And it is happening in Vermont. Vermont Supreme Court decided that because the way their constitution was written, it did not preclude non-citizens from voting in elections. And our constitution could be interpreted the same way, the way it is written now. It's not exclusive. It could be interpreted with good attorneys and judges that I would disagree with, that we could allow non-citizens to vote in elections. There is a movement. It's, these different movements come up, and I was surprised. The Brennan Center, ACLU, Chinese for Affirmative Action are all actively supporting this type of thing across the nation to get non-citizens to vote based on being residents of a community, not based on citizenship. Again, there are legal arguments in the courts that sometimes prevail now, allowing non-citizens to vote. And that Vermont Supreme Court was in 2023. I don't have the exact citation in front of me. But voting in Idaho, according to our Supreme Court in 1980, is a fundamental right for voting. However, there's ambiguity in the state constitution, not at first glance when you look at it, but as you look further, in light of the other court decisions, there's a bit of a loophole. So without an Idaho constitutional amendment that's being brought by my favorite cowboy legislator, future courts or legislators could expand the right of voting to non-citizens in Idaho. With that, there is no explicit prohibition in our state constitution for non-citizens to vote. So simply because the Constitution affords the right of citizens to vote does not exclude non-citizens. That's how it gets interpreted and twisted around in the courts. So I really think this is an important one.
Okay, welcome to Idaho Signal. We are on the air. This is an important bill, as you could hear. Can you believe it? We need to have a bill in Idaho that would stop non-citizens from voting in our elections in Idaho. And we need this bill because there are people like Representative Achilles, the Democrat from Boise, who has made quite a name for himself over the last few weeks as he's been sat in this legislative seat, because he has interesting opinions on this matter himself. So let's listen to Representative Achilles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think just a comment for Representative Skog. I mean, today in Idaho, citizens and taxpayers who are unaffiliated aren't allowed to participate in primary elections. So we do have restrictions on who's participating in our elections today. So I just want to make sure that we anchor this conversation in the system that we have today before we, I think, start chasing ghosts. I just don't. I struggle to think about a municipality in Idaho that would undertake this. And if they did, there's another element of, are we deferring and deferring to local control in terms of that municipality's right to make these decisions? And there, I have no idea what the reasons are. I can't, in general, I don't think this is a good idea either, but there may be some perspective on that in different localities. And I think we have to respect that a municipality or a school board may want to undertake something like this, and to cut that out is inappropriate.
This guy's a mess. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Chasing ghosts? He can't think of a municipality, or he struggles to find how this would happen in Idaho. But if it should come up, we should allow them to have their own ideas about whether or not they should allow non-citizens to vote in our elections. Are you serious? This guy's dangerous. This guy's an activist. This guy's a full-on leftist activist who wants to see the downfall of our republic. Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. This guy, I mean, so let's back up here. This is a House Joint Resolution number 5 that would state that we will not allow non-citizens to vote in our elections. And Skog laid it out. The language in our Constitution and our statutes can be misinterpreted, as it is seen being misinterpreted across the country in other states. And And while Achilles sits there and goes, well, I don't know if this would happen, but we should certainly allow it to if the people want it. I mean, it is so sinister. It is so anti-American. It is anti-American, literally, because you want non-Americans to vote in our elections. So I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that this is an anti-American stance. And forgive me, Representative Achilles, who served in our military, but is this what you were serving for, sir? Is this what you were serving for? To ensure the right to vote of non-citizens in our country and in our state? Absurd on its face. Absurd. I would never be able to be elected. I'm getting more incensed thinking about it. Unbelievable. Well, that's what we're dealing with, folks. That's what we're dealing with here. So keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on these folks. You got to keep an eye on them. And I mean, this resolution passed committee. It wasn't a shock. This was the House State Affairs Committee. So it did pass committee. Even Representative Gannon voted to pass it through the committee, the other Democrat, right? Because he understands somewhat. You know, I kind of like watching Gannon. You know, he brings up good arguments sometimes. He could be a little tongue-tied himself, but aren't we all? But Achilles, I mean, what was this? Chasing ghosts? This is not happening in Idaho, but if it did, we should probably allow it. You know, he was this far away from saying this is a solution in search of a problem. He hasn't been there long enough for that to seep into his brain yet. This is offensive, absolutely offensive. Okay, anyway, you got to pay attention, folks. You got to pay attention.